What's up guys, my name is John Evans, and in this video we're going to be going over max velocity sprinting. So Donovan is here, he's already warmed up, and we are going to be teaching you how to do 10-meter flies, maybe some sprint float sprints, and essentially what to focus on when you're upright sprinting to make sure you stay healthy, run fast, and ultimately don't overthink it. All right guys, so the first thing Donovan's gonna do is his build-ups. After his build-ups, he's gonna do sprint floats. So I also put these in the form of sprint float sprints, and the point of it is to increase your speed endurance by increasing the total length that you run, but changing the intensities of each zone. So every sprint zone is a max effort sprint. Each float zone, you wanna stay relaxed, you wanna be upright, probably around 95 to 98%. And then in the final sprint zone, you wanna also accelerate out of that into the final zone of that rep. In terms of sets and reps here, generally speaking, you're gonna wanna do anywhere from 2 to 5 reps, depending on the distance. I don't like to go much above 300 meters of total sprint volume on a day, whether it's upright or acceleration volume. So Donovan is gonna start with a 20-meter sprint and 10-meter float because he hasn't done any upright running at this point. Big focuses here are to keep the hips high, focus on driving the knee up and down into the ground, staying relaxed, feel the wind in your face, cover space, and generate a lot of momentum. We don't have enough time to really cue too much in this, so it's really how you strike the ground because you can't think about anything in 0.1 seconds, which is how long you're in contact with the ground. Good. On the Excel, just rise up smoother. You're kind of getting here and just popping up. You want it to be like you're rising up through the 20. When you get to this first cone, you're tall. All right guys, so Donovan is still getting warm in those early reps. He kind of popped up in the float zone. So we want to see that progression increase each step, getting closer and closer to vertical. When you're upright sprinting, you actually see elite guys have a very slight forward lean, and we want to maintain that position. In terms of your thighs relative to the ground, when you're upright running, you want to see the thigh about parallel to the ground or just below that, and you want to strike underneath the hips. This minimizes braking forces, but it is more difficult because you have less time to generate ground reaction forces. So when your foot strikes out in front, it's a braking force, but you have a lot of time as your hips move over the foot. So ideally, we want to see the foot strike directly underneath the hips, allowing you to apply really high forces really quickly. However, slower people will not be able to do this because they won't be able to balance. Perfect. That was really good. See how much like smoother that was?
Yeah.
That's what we want. All right guys, so now Donovan is fully warm and we're actually gonna do the sprint floats the way they were intended. So he's gonna accelerate through 25 meters at 100%. Once he gets in the float zone, his goal is to maintain an upright posture, keeping his leg like a super bouncy ball, but still staying relaxed. So the runs in the float zone are not quite 100%. They're probably like 95 to 97%, as I said previously. And the big thing that I wanna see here is Donovan not sinking down and having this semi-bent position with his support leg. I want him to keep the hips high, stay relaxed, arms coming across, jiggle the face, jiggle the eyelids, and this way we're able to get really high quality foot contacts, maintain his health because we're not at 100% upright sprinting because we haven't quite progressed to that yet, and then we're gonna move into max flies in the next session. So hit the gas here in the first 25, Donovan. There you go. All right guys, so Donovan did a really good job there. He accelerated super hard, rose up naturally upright. He's a little bit backside, but we'll work on that as we continue to progress him to max velocity sprinting. These next reps, he's actually gonna accelerate 25 meters and we're gonna do a 20-meter float zone. So the full rep distance is 45 meters. In terms of rest periods, every 10 meters that you run, you're gonna need a minute rest. So this does take a little bit of time. Again, Donovan did a full warm up, did his build-ups, did the first 2 reps pretty easy, and now we're progressing out the distance on his working sets. All right, so that's the end of the session. We're gonna cut it there. Donovan's starting to feel a little bit lightheaded, and that's kind of normal. The intensity of these reps is incredibly high, and this is partially the reason why I believe in a short to long approach. So we started with the Excel work. He did 3 to 4 sessions of that, and we progressed the distances out, but didn't push the intensity of upright running. It's a great way to blow a hamstring if you just go into max velocity sprinting when you haven't built up the distances, which builds up the intensity. Each step you take, the intensity increases because you're running faster. So these reps that he's doing, he's increasing the intensity because he's getting to a higher top speed. Even with the long rest periods, we don't want to push that. That's the session, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.